Hello and welcome to a run-through of the DJ Megaset 2.0. My name is Tom Cosm and I created this beast. The DJ Megaset is a adaptation of the Megaset, which is a kind of a live template I made for people who write their own music and wish to perform it. This one is for people who wish to mix other tracks or their own tracks and have a lot of fun and be really, really creative. Some people will say this isn't DJing or mixing, but who cares? As long as you're having fun and people are having a good time. That's all that matters. Also, this doesn't really beat match, so to speak, so you don't really spend any time matching the beats up together speed-wise, but there's so many things you can do to be really, really creative, so it frees up a lot of time for you to actually do things like real remixes and crazy effects and stuff like that. Now, this particular version I've got open is my personal one, and this is the house version of it. So this is my house music template, and you'll see over here I have this area, which are these 7 tracks, and I call this the tracks area. This is where all my tracks are. It's like my record crate, like my CD wallet, and I've got 7 individual groups here, and each group has a kind of an explanation of what type of housey music. I don't know if it's housey music, but that's what I call it. What type it is, and this is a personal thing for me. So I kind of know what all these kind of words mean in my mind. You can create your own subgenres and rename these anything you like. It could be any genre of electronic music, but just for this example, this is what I've got. Now, in each one of these groups, if I open it up, you'll see that I have 5 tracks inside it. One is called track name. Now this is where your actual track goes. You can drag and drop tracks in here very easily from your computer or from iTunes. It's very easy to download from Beatport, drag them in, and you need to warp them correctly. I've just done a video on how to warp tunes correctly, so check out my channel. I'll try and put one of those annoying pop-up things on right now so that you can link to a video on how to warp tunes correctly. Warping is pretty much means stretching the timeline around the audio so that Ableton knows exactly what speed or BPM it is and what it should play at. And it's very, very quick once you get the hang of it. So these are all warped correctly. Over here I have these interesting tracks here. Now these are information tracks. I have rate, BPM, key, and feel. Now rate, this is what I rate the track out of 10 personally. So I use out of 10, you could use out of 100, you could use out of 5. I find 10 is a good number. You'll notice I never really go below 6, but it's still kind of, it's just something that's built into me, and this is really handy, so when I'm ready to drag tracks over to the decks to play, I know kind of what I consider it to be. BPM, pretty self-explanatory. This is how fast the track is. So you notice if I open up a track, this has been warped correctly. It tells me the BPM is 127 after I've warped it correctly. So I just put a note there that it's 127. And this is handy for when I'm mixing and I don't want kind of a track that's 123 mixing with a track that's 130, for example. You want to kind of keep the BPM the same. Well, you don't have to. You can go crazy and be creative. That's the whole point. Key, I haven't actually used it here, but if you mix in key and you like to keep track of what key your tunes are in, this is where you would put it. So you could go C minor like that. So that's just kind of a reference place if you're interested in doing that. And the feel, this is how much of the subgenre this particular track is. For example, this one here is a 9, so it's a very driving track, whereas a number 7 would be not so driving. And so this is kind of relevant to the subgenre that you have. You can kind of put anything you like in here, but this is just a good thing that I find personally helpful when I'm trying to match tracks together. Okay, so that's the tracks area. You can have as many of these as you want. You can just create more and more and more and more and more, basically building your library. Every time you buy some tunes on Beatport or wherever you get your tunes from, you can just keep adding them and build this massive library of tracks. Awesome. Now let's move over to the decks area. This is what I call the decks area. This is where you play your tunes. You can think of this as, you know, your traditional CDJs or your turntables. You've got deck 1, excuse me, and deck 2. I've added 3 and 4 here because some people like to get really complex and creative with layering up to 4 tracks together. You could add more if you want. You could just right click and duplicate this if you wanted a deck 5 and deck 6. You can keep going. Usually I only use deck 1 and 2, maybe deck 3 if I want to chuck something in from another track that's very interesting. Now, on each deck, you'll notice that I've created a device here called the DJ EQ3FX, and this is a Max for Live device which has what I consider to be the core elements of mixing tracks together. We've got a whole other effects section which I'll talk about in a minute, but this is kind of on every track and what I think is the most important. So you'll see we've got a low, mid, and high here. Now people are saying, why don't you use the EQ3? Well, the reason is because the EQ3 doesn't have the 0 point right in the middle there. So I can go down to -28, I can go up to 0, and if I keep going, it goes up to 5.6. So this is handy because if you're assigning something to a knob, you want the knob to be at 0 when it is actually in the middle kind of the dial. So that's why this has been recreated instead of using the EQ3. So we've got low, mids, and highs. That's pretty straightforward. We have a filter here. So this filter is a dual filter. So when it's in the middle, it is not applying any filter whatsoever. As you move it down, it will bring in a low pass filter and cut out the high frequencies. And as you bring it up, it'll bring up a high pass filter and cut out the low frequencies. We should put a track in just to get that going. I'm going to drag this across. This is just how you drag in a track to your deck. Drag it across from your library, and I'm just going to hit play. Awesome. And this is 128 BPM, so I'm just going to bring this up to 128. So as I said, we've got our lows. We can bring our lows out. We can bring our mids out. And we can bring our highs out. Or we can bring them up if we wanted to. Now, as I said, the filter, if we bring the filter down, bring it right down, so we've just got the bass and the kick, or just the kick at this stage, bring it up, all the way. So that's a lot of fun to have. It's really good for doing, if you're mixing out of a track, so you haven't got your beats matched up correctly as far as the phrasing and progression goes of the tune, you can kind of bring a track out like that. There's also a resonance here, so the resonance amplifies the point of where the cutoff filter is. It gives it it kind of extenuates it and gives you like a more of an accent. So you bring this up, it's much sharper and wetter. If you bring it right up, it really screams. I won't do that to your eardrums, but careful not to put this up too high unless you're being really strange and trying to get a ringing sound. So I'll just stop that there. We've got a looping section here. Now this isn't working just in this version. The next version, which I should release within the week, will have this fully functional. I have got it fully functional in the testing stage. It's just quite CPU intensive, and I'm trying to figure out why. So at the moment, this area is disabled. But this is what you traditionally find on a CDJ. You know, you can set an in point and an out point, and it will start looping that particular point, and then you can kind of halve the loop up here and create little build-ups and stuff. That's all good. This is all fancy stuff, which doesn't mean anything, just looks cool in the middle. Now over here I have an effects area. Now the effects area, I've created, I believe it's 10 separate chains of effects, which I think are the most important or the most fun to play with in a DJ set. So I've got a delay, echo, pan, filter, flanger, phaser, reverb, crush, chorus, and a roll. And you can choose what effect you want by using this knob here. So this is good. These are all assignable, by the way, so if you have an external controller, you can assign a knob to these. Or you can simply just click on the one that you wish to choose. Now, underneath we've got an on and off button, so turning this on will actually turn the effect on. And the amount kind of changes the amount of the effect, or how much of the effect is to be applied to the sound. And the intensity is, I wasn't sure what to call this knob, but this changes something different within each parameter that has more kind of an intense change to the effect. So with these two knobs you can really get some interesting effects going. So let's just play this again. I'll skip ahead and install somewhere else on the track. So let's turn on the delay. Let's turn on the echo. Pan. We've got a filter. Flanger. Turn that off. Phaser. Bit of reverb. A crush. Chorus. And a roll. So that's a lot of fun to have, and as I said, I made it so you only have to have 3 knobs, one to change the effect and 2 knobs to change parameters depending on what effect is selected, and an on and off button. Okay, so that's on every single track, deck 1, deck 2, deck 3, deck 4. So just quickly for mixing, I'm just using my mouse at the moment, but I'll just play this again. Let's skip ahead to the end of the tune. And let's choose another tune. Let's try this one here. So I can go into my deck 2, bring down the lows, bring the mids and the highs down a little bit, and let's just start playing this tune. I'm going to do a very quick mix with my mouse here. And let's bring out the bass of this one. Bring in the bass of this one. And this deck, we could use the filter to get rid of it now. Give it an echo. And done. Let's just drag in another track. Let's bring the filter up here so we can just do some layering. We can crush it up. Let's bring in another track. So a lot of fun to be had. Now that was just with using the mouse. So if you assign these things to something on a controller, a lot of fun to be had. Very, very fun. It's like playing a video game, I like to say. And very quickly you understand how these knobs start working, how to start mixing, and you can really get involved and do really creative stuff. And it's quite hard to do something that sounds really, really bad, which is good. Okay, so that's the decks area. Moving along, we have another area here. This is the dummy track area. I have 16 individual groups here. So I have 1, 2, 3, and so on. Each group has 3 tracks in it. The third track is the one you need to pay attention to. This is the dummy track, and this has an effect on it. So the first dummy track in the first group has a beat repeat. The next one has an EQ. The next one has a gate. The next one has a redux, and each one of these tracks feeds the audio into the next one. This feeds into this one. This feeds into this one. So if I was to put an effect, the beat repeat on, it would start repeating it. Then I could EQ it. So then it would be EQing a beat repeated sound. Then I can gate the EQ beat repeated sound. Then I can add a redux to the gated EQ'd beat repeat sound. This goes all the way down. There's filters, flanges, chorus, everything all the way to the end where there's a big kind of delay. Now, each effect on these dummy tracks complements the one that was previous to it. So you can work through, I kind of said this one catches a loop and then you can change it and change it and change it. And I've kind of laid it out in a way that I think of this series of effects should be in sequence. Now, why haven't I just put these all after one another in a single audio track? Well, that's because we have these things called dummy clips here. Now, I've done a few videos on dummy clips, but a quick rundown is a dummy clip is a blank audio track. It has no audio in it, and because this beat repeat is getting fed an audio signal, or this EQ is getting fed an audio signal from the beat repeat, these tracks are no longer audibly active, so they don't actually play anything. Even though they're silent, there's nothing to be played because this track is being overridden with the audio that's coming through into it. But you can still play clips, and the reason you can still the reason this is cool is because each clip has modulation, and modulation meaning you can change something within the parameters of the effect inside the clip, but it will not play any audio, but it will still play or modulate the parameters of an effect. So the audio that's getting fed into the track will get changed by the effect, and by triggering these dummy clips, it will do something different to the audio that's getting fed into the track. So for the beat repeat, for example, I have none. I always have none at the start, which means there is no effect being played. It turns the effect off. But if I hit 1 bar, excuse me while I just stop all the clips here. If I just hit 1 bar, you'll notice it goes on, the beat repeat turns on and it goes to 1 bar. Half a bar, it goes to half a bar. 3rd, 4th, 6th, 8th, and 16th. So this will capture and loop a particular part of the track. So let me just play another track here. What do we got? We'll play this. This is a really cool track. Has quite a long intro. Let's just skip ahead. And make sure we turn the filter off. And this up. And the effects off. Now, by using this ascend here, we send the audio to this return track, which is the dummy sender. The dummy sender sends it back to this first dummy clip. So just by turning this up, we can start sending audio to this series of audio tracks. So you can see it coming through here. And all these tracks are now lit up, so something's happening. Okay, another thing we can do is on this dummy injector, I've created a special version of the dual toggle device. So this quickly allows me to send deck 1 just to the dummy. It turns the volume down and the dummy sender up. We can do this to deck 2, deck 3, and deck 4. You can have them all on at once or all off at once. I'm just going to turn on deck 1 going through the dummy tracks now, just to show you how they work. So again, I'm just going to skip through. So these are all now coming through the dummy clips. So back to this beat repeat. I can now choose one of these dummy clips and send and have it repeat a loop. Hang on. Okay, that didn't click in straight away. I think I needed to have the none selected first, but that started looping it now for us. So we've got half a bar loop. We've captured this. Now we can EQ it. So this is an EQ, and these dummy clips will change the way the EQ works. So we can take out the sub. No bass at all, just the highs, no mids, just the sub. We can have a wee drop in the middle. So I'm going to choose no bass for now, so it's cut out the bass for us. Then we move along. I've got a gator here. This is interesting. This rhythmically gates it by cutting out certain parts of the audio. We can go 8th notes, 16th, and a 16th swing. I'm just going to keep it on there for now. Now, a Redux is a really interesting crushing device, so we can change it. We can crush this up. Now, one thing I should note is these other two tracks allow you to actually make a preset of these dummies. So this Dr. Dummy listens to MIDI notes that comes from this trigger track and changes them accordingly. So if I added a MIDI clip by double clicking, go right down to C-2 and draw in some notes. Let's say I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I play this trigger. Let's have a look what happens. Actually, I think they need to be up an octave. Yeah, sorry, they need to start from C1. So now that's automated it. Let's make this a little bit more interesting. Okay, now we've got a filter. So I've got various sweeps here. We can go half. I'm not going to use that one. We've got a reverb, so we can add different types of reverb. pretty cool. We've got a chorus, flanges, I'm going to roll with that. We've got a phaser, we've got a frequency shifter. Let's roll that. Grain delays, quite fun. I'm not going to play with that one. We've got a pitch delay. It's cool. Time delay. A corpus. So it's like a resonator. Might leave that one off. Vocoder really changed it into kind of white noise. So I'll leave that one off. And then we've got a delay. I'll leave that one off too. So just from that loop, I've created a really crazy, unique version of it myself by using these dummy tracks. And now what we can do is we can bring in another track. I might choose another one. Maybe this, I'll use that one. Put this one in. So you can see how this can be really fun. Okay, so that's the dummy area, and again, a lot of the stuff is assignable. You can use a push to trigger these, because it's got a drum rack in it. You can actually use a push to trigger and record sequences on the fly into this clip slot, so the dummy clip area is sequenced. And finally, and very quickly, over on the send return tracks, I've got this track called an orgasmic delay. The orgasmic delay is basically a really big delay track that feeds back into itself. So instead of using a traditional delay, it feeds each delayed sound back into the track, and then it will feed back and back and back and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And this means that you can create some really interesting dubbed out effects, and you can subtly start adding extra effects like a chorus or a redux, so that each time it passes through itself, it adds more and more of that audio to it. I'll show you how that works. I'm just going to stop all the tracks here, delete these guys, we'll pick one more. What's a good one? See what this one is here. So I'm just going to play this. Bring the dummy down. So if I send it over to this orgasmic delay by using the B send, you can see how it's kind of picking up, but I need to increase the gain in order to increase the feedback. So this is how loud it is each time it gets feedback. So let's go. Before I bring it right up. I can stop it there and bring this down. Then we can start adding things like chorus, redux, reverb. Add a rhythm gate to it, it's quite fun. So that's a lot of fun. We also have Let me just turn the gain down here. You've got to be careful with this gain knob. If you turn it up too much, it goes crazy. It nearly got pretty crazy then. We have a grain delay live here, so this is kind of fun. So if I play this track and bring up the descend, which is to the grain delay, we can bring in really, really short echoes. So the time between the echoes or the delays are really short, which adds a really interesting character, really, really metallic kind of sound. And we've got a pitch parameter too. And we can, there's also a separate one here which does a really interesting thing when you change the time. It changes the pitch as well. So if the delay between the two echoes gets bigger, it will slow the delay or pitch it down. And if you bring the delay closer together, it'll pitch it up. So let's have a listen to that. This will probably be better in a breakdown, so let's skip ahead. So that's an idea of the grain delay. Again, assign these to parameters, a lot of fun to play with. And the final thing is I've got this Shepherd's machine here. Now what this does is it's a chain of corpus devices, which is a kind of a resonator. So it takes what you feed it and then resonates the sound and gives it a tail, a kind of a pitch. And by using a whole series of these, all octaves apart, the resonator is tuned to different octaves apart, and slowly using an LFO to bring them all pitching upwards, or downwards I believe, oh no, upwards, and slowly fading out the top one and slowly bringing in the bottom one, you get this interesting effect called the Shepherd's tone, where it constantly makes a sound rise and rise forever. Now I've done a tutorial on how to make one of these if you're interested in how it actually works, but for now let's just throw in a track. Bring the volume down a bit, and I'm going to bring send it to the Shepherd's machine. Let's go have a look at it. So the rate is how fast it goes. And the decay time is how long that tail lasts for of the resonated part of the sound. And you can also change the resonance type. So this changes the kind of the timbre of it. Okay, so that's it. That's the DJ Megaset 2.0 in a nutshell. Really fun to play with, really easy to use on a basic level if you just want to mix tracks together. Really complicated if you want to take the time and learn your way around the dummy clips. Now this is really where you want to get into doing real-time remixes and crazy build-ups and doing stuff yourself. I hope you've enjoyed it. Check out cosm.co.nz if you want to find out how to get your hands on this. It's downloadable. You can go and play with it right now. And that's all. Alright, cheers, Tom Cosm.